Hey, um, just heard about the girl on campus who just committed suicide. I I need to talk about this, and um, I really don't know what I'm going to say, but I feel like I have a story to tell. So, for those of you who don't know, a girl jumped from the top level of the Tanner building to the bottom level inside. Um, Recently, and she died in the hospital later. And the whole campus is just rocked with sadness because of this. I know exactly what she went through, um, having attempted suicide twice before and um, actually been successful in committing suicide in fourth grade. I think this is a big problem in Utah. I think that people need to speak up more about it. I am sick of um, Utahns sweeping this under the rug like it's something nasty, like it's something that is broken about you, that can't be talked about, that you just need to fix yourself. Um, when I used to try to explain to people what I was going through, I would say it's kind of like having your arm cut off and people are yelling at you and screaming at you that you need to sew your arm back on with one hand. And you literally can't. You need help. People of Utah, just please realize that those of us who struggle with depression and suicide, it's just like that. We get so far down the rabbit hole, so locked into Satan's programming and lies about ourselves. I mean, you will see a person walking down the hallway, and if they glance at you and look away, there will literally be a dialogue um, that will follow you from that hallway all the way home, straight from Satan in your own voice, telling you how you are not good enough for a smile from that person and that you should go jump off a cliff. It's really that real. It's those of us who struggle with this are, we need connection. We need connection and we need to talk about it. Talking about our feelings does not lead to more of a preoccupation with suicide. I actually think it has the opposite effect. Um, so maybe I should talk about what I think the cause in Utah is of all these suicides and attempted suicides. I can only talk about my perspective, obviously, but I think it does have wide ranging applications. So, this is kind of hard for me to talk about because a lot of people have told me, and people very close to me who I trust and actually agree with, um, they've told me to take all my videos off of YouTube and Facebook, talking about suicide and how I've comforted others who've struggled with suicide and rape and depression, and that my move out here recently in the last week to Virginia, I literally just moved from BYU campus to Virginia in a week, and this happens. um, they told me that I should start with a fresh, clean slate and I can leave my past behind me. But I think with my experience, I can't be silent about this anymore. So I think in Utah, what leads to suicide is Satan attacks the best and brightest of us, those of us who have the most incredible gifts, most incredible spiritual gifts, those of us who feel the most, those of us who feel so deeply down and can go down, we're also the ones who can feel this high too and be the most connected to God. I figured out about a year ago, and I wrote it in my journal. I said something like, the most depressed people were the happiest people in heaven. The most suicidal people were the people closest to God in heaven. I still believe that. Everyone around you who has depression and all this stuff, they're the ones with the most incredible spiritual gifts. And I believe the scriptures. I believe when Christ says, your greatest weakness shall become your greatest strength. Those of us who struggle with this, our greatest strength is to be the most joyous and happy, brightest stars in the sky, the lights on the hill. I know that's true because it's been 23 years since I was raped. And it was so traumatic that my brain hid the memory from me. I've only now recently gotten half of the memory back. But I was raped in second grade, and I showed all the signs of a rape victim at age 7 and started my period and all of that and started developing, and not a single teacher or anybody noticed. And I would cry every day. I would cry myself to sleep. And I was being bullied incessantly. My parents really tried their best. But the generation above me, they don't understand. A lot of them don't understand our generation. We are a more sensitive group, and I feel like I have kind of been the vanguard of the millennial group that have all kind of come forth, and a lot of them have these spiritual gifts and are becoming really suicidal nowadays. I really relate to them. I feel like I'm kind of 10 years ahead of that, and I've been prepared to speak to them about what they're going through. So if that's you, I'm talking to you right now. If you are a millennial and you are suicidal, and you feel like you don't fit in and you don't belong, and you have thoughts in your head that you believe are true, that are about how we shouldn't be here anymore, let me tell you something. I know personally that that's from Satan. That is from Lucifer. He literally sent someone to rape me and program me and take away my memories and plant seeds of darkness in me to destroy me. And it did. And by the time fourth grade came around, not having any help, the help that I needed, I did commit suicide with a whole like fourth cup of pharmaceutical drugs. And sorry, this is hard. And I was deceased for 4 hours and came back. And that's a sacred story that I don't know if I can share it right now, but I don't even quite understand what happened. But right when I came back, and I hear those words in my head, Talitha Kumi, damsel arise. And I came back, and my knees hit the floor by my bed, and I promised God that I would not try to commit suicide again. And broke that promise. Because it's literally a sickness. You're literally sick. And you can't, it's like you can't escape it without help. And finally, friends and family caught on. And my letter to Uchtdorf got to him, and he replied to me, and he gave my letter to Elder Holland, and he wrote like a broken vessel. And I knew that talk had something to do with me and everyone else like me, and I rejoiced when that talk came out. And 3 months later, the Spirit told me after I left the temple to go to Harmon's, and I went to Harmon's, and there was President Uchtdorf standing by the frozen chicken, and I turned tail and ran. And the Spirit said, I sent him here for you. And I went back and I tapped him on the shoulder. And he turns around and I say, President Uchtdorf, you probably don't remember me, but I wrote you a letter. And in it I said, if love were measured in casseroles, we mentally ill never get any. Do you remember that letter? And his face lit up and he said, yes, I remember. And he just like hit me on the back. He was like, you look so well. Like I could see in his eyes that he hadn't envisioned the girl who wrote that letter to look like me. And that's the same with everybody else in Utah. You truly do not know. People know me as the most bubbly, outgoing girl who no one really, if you met me nowadays and I didn't tell you my story, you would never ever guess what I've been through. Like you'd know that I've been through something, but you wouldn't guess that I've dealt with this. I have finally overcome it, but I dealt with it for 23 years. And so he was just shocked. And then I asked him, did you give my letter to Elder Holland? My letter was about suicide in Utah and like all the struggles that I've been through and how there wasn't enough support. And he said, yes, I did. And I started crying and I said, thank you. I was part of this huge community of all of us were so depressed. And we had all loved that talk. And I said, thank you. You don't know what it means to us. And you see, if you are depressed and suicidal, please borrow on my story and my light. After I came back in 4th grade and I said that prayer, things did not get easier. It was not all sunshine and rainbows. I still thought about suicide every day. Every single day of elementary school and middle school and high school, and nobody knew. And sometimes I would take my dad's gun and hold it to my chest and just sit there for an hour with my hand on the trigger. Sometimes I would go to a cliff and stand there and think about jumping for a really long time. I did a lot of things, a lot. And if you're in that same boat, please hold on. I don't care if I'm ruining my reputation right now in front of everybody, for everybody to see. What I care about is the one person who's watching this who feels the way that I did. And I don't want another Tanner building incident to happen. I wish I could have been there for that girl. You hold on. You are incredible. You have amazing gifts. You've been abused. You've been lied to. You've known that you've been lied to, But you've been lied to so much, and everyone believed the lies that you've started to believe them too. About what life is supposed to be like, about who you are. But you know the truth deep down inside. And the truth is, you literally are a son or daughter of God, born and reared in the courts of glory on high. You have a special personal relationship with Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother. You actually have an identity and a name and a personality and gifts. You are different and unique. Or different than any of the other billions of people on this earth. You are so, so special. It is as if you were the only person in the entire universe and it was just you and God. That's all the attention He has to lavish on you. He wants to give you the whole world, and He's actually always been there. And I don't quite still understand why He's let a lot of us go through this hell. Why He allows this level of darkness to pierce us. Why we're allowed to fall so far down the rabbit hole and feel like we're never ever going to escape, and some of us never do. And I especially don't know. I don't know why He would bring some of us back and let some of us go. But for all those of you who are wondering about this girl who committed suicide in the Tanner building, right in the very spot that I have stood and thought about suicide at least 100 times. I want you to know that she endured to the end. Understand? I had a paradigm shift when a bishop told me that. I had this idea ingrained into me that everyone who commits suicide, especially if you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that you are going to hell because you know better. Let me tell you something. She did her best. And I believe that even if this didn't have to happen, God will use it to the kingdom's advantage, and she fulfilled a mission, and that she was greeted with open arms by loved ones and by Jesus Christ Himself, and that she is very much alive today. She's on the other side, right here on earth, right now, probably listening to this, urging all of us to gather together to not let her sacrifice be in vain. She's urging us to wake up and to not let this fall by the wayside in a couple months, but to actually change. I've been through 10 mental hospitals. I've been through jail. I've been through divorces. And, we need a better support system in Utah than we have currently, because there are beautiful, wonderful young people falling through the cracks and turning to addiction and sex and pornography and depression and self-hatred and cutting and all these things, and cattiness and deflecting responsibility and being in the drama triangle, all this stuff. It's just a substitution for what it really could be. there's something better. And I think it's unconditional love. I think it's openness and honesty. I think it's, if you haven't struggled with mental illness, I think it's actually trying to understand, and not judging, but just loving, just completely loving. So yeah, if that's you, if you're struggling with suicide, if you're struggling with depression, please know that you're not alone. You're absolutely not alone. And if you're not, please know that you're that person who can help sew the arm back on to the rest of us who've had their arm cut off, and we're trying to sew it back on, but we can't, because we need help. We need your help. And if you've ever struggled with depression, if you've ever gone through anything, know that there is another side to it. It does get better, but you have to go through the crap first. It does get better. It took me 23 years, but I have now successfully, completely beaten depression and suicide. I've kicked it in the butt. I'm completely healthy now. I'm so happy. It took a long time, but it was all worth it, because now I truly understand what other people are going through, and I get to be there for them. There was a girl who was raped and dumped by her boyfriend and lost her job all in one day when I was Uber driving, and I got to hold her in the back of my car for 10 minutes, and I understood. And that one moment healed everything I'd been through. It made everything I'd been through worth it. That's really the magic of giving, of loving others as yourself. What you are going through right now is not only for your own growth, but it is for countless other people. And if we all can heal together, we can just spread that light. Let's change. Let's move up to a terrestrial level of being and change the way things are done, starting with BYU campus, going to, let's do Provo, let's expand to Salt Lake, let's do Utah, let's do United States, let's do the world. Let's change this thing, be there for each other. Love you all. God bless.